So when winter fishing for trout, you're usually going to be using streamers or nymphs. Today I'm just using a double nymph rig. Pretty much starts with your strike indicator on top, which is just like fancy fly fishing terms for a bobber. Goes down to top fly, which I just have a worm on right now. And then below that I have a zebra midge, tiny little fly. So when you're using a strike indicator with your nymphs, you're going to want to set it according to the depth of the water. So usually a rule of thumb is about 1.5 times the water depth. So if you're fishing like 3 feet of water, you'd want like 4.5 feet of length between your strike indicator and your bottom fly. That just helps with the drift, because you want, pretty much when you're dragging through the water column, you want your flies bouncing off the bottom. You don't want it too long or you won't feel your strikes, and if it's too short, it won't be down low enough to where the trout can see the nymphs. So fishing for trout in the winter is way different than fishing for them in the summer. Not just the flies you use, like using small streamers and nymphs versus using dries, but also where they sit in the water column. In the summer, they're going to sit in shallower, more flats, maybe a little bit faster current, just sipping dries off the top. But in the winter, they're trying to conserve energy. They're really lethargic. They want to waste pretty much as little energy as possible. So they'll go to the deep, slow moving pools to where they don't have to fight the current, and all their food just comes right to them. And they're not near as aggressive. They're not gonna chase your flies. You can't go in the middle of January just ripping a streamer through a hole. Almost guaranteed no fish is gonna chase it. You have to be really subtle with your presentation, and it has to be pretty much right on top of their face in order for them to even want it. So when you're looking for a hole, like right here is a perfect example. There's some shallow rapids up top, and it's carrying food into this deep, long hole on this corner. So fish will stack up in this slow, deep pool and let this food source just come right to them. So when you cast into holes like this, obviously, like I said, you're going to want to have your strike indicator set to the right depth, because again, you need to have these flies like really close to the fish, because they're not gonna want to chase it. So you want to make sure you're as close to the bottom without just dragging across the bottom the whole time as you possibly can. And once you figure that depth out, it might take some trial and error, getting some snags to get it figured out. But once you get that depth right, then you just pretty much cast to the top of the hole, let those flies sink, let them coming through, and just bring it all the way through the hole. So this hole's kind of hard to cast into because I have to stand on this ice shelf or fall into the ice shelf. Whoops. Anyways, let's try that again. So you don't want any drag on your fly, which is where like the current will push your fly line, which drags your fly unnaturally through the water. Fish see that, and they usually won't take something like that. So you want to make some mends after you cast to make sure your fly is floating as smoothly as it can, as little drag as possible. Oh, there we go. That's what we like to see. Oh yeah, buddy. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. Shucks. Spit the hook. Oh yeah, there we go. Are you serious? There we go. Oh, come on. No! Dude. If you could stop spinning the hook, that would be lovely. Oh yeah. now. Oh, it's a whitefish. Not what I'm going for, but I'll take it. There we go. I swear it's another whitefish. It is. Are you serious? Oh, he gone. All right, we are on to the next spot. Sponsored by Juanita's Tortilla Chips. Me gusta la mañana, me gustas tú. Me gusta el viento, me gustas tú. Me gusta soñar, me gustas. We have arrived. So this hole right here is another perfect example of where you're gonna wanna look for trout in the winter. We got this fast water, bringing a food source down into a really deep, long, slow pool. The fish will just stack up right in there, just letting the food come right to them. So all I'm doing pretty much is I'm casting my flies right. I want my indicator to pretty much float right down this seam. There's a seam between the fast and the slow water, and fish will sit right there because the water's pushing the food through, and it'll kind of push it into the slow water, and they'll just sit there right at the edge and just eat nymphs and different bugs and things as they come by. So if you just fish your nymphs right along that seam, that's a very good place to catch them. Okay. I got a fish on. I'm gonna start recording with my phone because my GoPro died, so that's sweet. Oh shit. Okay. Uh-oh. Nice fish. Here you go.
J'ai sur mon lit à bouffer sa langue en buvant trop mon whisky. Quant à moi, peu dormi, vie débris. Mais j'ai dû dormir dans la gouttière où j'ai eu un flash. En 4 couleurs. Allez hop, un matin, une louloute est venue chez moi, poupée de cellophane, cheveux chinois.